Australia. I've been working in the sync industry for about 10 years now. About 25 years all up as a music producer, songwriter, and I worked my way up to creative director for my label called Hit Music Lab, who are now fortunately and gratefully partnered with Warner Chappell Production Music worldwide, meaning we have access to a lot of regions to have our music placed and played in a lot of their shows, from Japan to Germany to the UK, Australia. It's just endless what we can do in terms of having our songs placed on these in these regions.
What made this sync sector so lucrative, so fashionable?
It's
after 25 years in the business.
Yeah.
Why did you say, okay, that's what I want to do, as opposed to just writing songs and hopefully?
You know what? Like, I've always wondered, doing this as a producer, as a creator, how do I make money out of this? How do they make this as a living? But to be honest, I still didn't know how. But there's that opportunity when someone from LA came down to Sydney where I was working, and they were looking at some potential producers for them to work with on for their label, for their sync. And fortunately, they approached me, and I was very lucky for them to really like my stuff, what I was doing. And they were telling me that virtually, you know, our songs, within 2 minutes, you cannot hear what they say is that you can't turn the TV on in America without hearing our songs within 2 minutes. They were that good. And I was like, whoa, really? Oh, that's dope. That's so good. And for them to even consider working with me was just a blessing. And in the first a couple of years of doing it, I was just doing it for the love of it still, because, you know, I was still enjoying making music, writing songs. And then it was really when, I guess, it hit me when my first sync came within less than a year, really, that, hold on, that's my song on this cool show. And that really hit me like hard to say, wow, I worked so hard on that song. I put my heart and soul to it. And now the world's hearing the song right now.
Is it lucrative? I mean,
look,
much better than streaming royalties, I'm assuming, but otherwise.
Yeah, way better. Way better. And if, like, as you know, for me, it's longevity. What's what it is. The reason why I am where I am now and able to earn consistently is through the amount of placement that I've had, but also through the grittiness and determination to not stop, because the sync industry is always needing. We're always needing great songs, great artists to work with, and we're always trying to branch. For me, anyway, I want to branch our label, Hit Music Lab, to be more artist-driven. So traditionally, it's always just been production music. You know what? Let's get to make some songs, put it in a catalog, get it for the clients. That's great. But what I want, as a label, as HML is a label, we want to be a label that's forward-thinking. We want to really exploit and market and expose our artists as well, because y'all are our product. You're the ones who are really exposing our songs and, you know, and your songs, and if we can do our bit to help you, you know, get a foot in the door, not just in the sync world, but also potentially commercially, where you gain a whole bunch of followers and fans just through the one sync, then I'm all for it, man. I'm gonna do what I can to help you.
I know that you produced the 3 Spotlight albums that were created by MusicTT.
Yeah.
Any of those songs have been in your catalog? Are they in your catalog? Are they being pushed to get onto TV video?
Yeah, at the moment I'm in talks with my business partner and co-writer, Jhay, amazing guy.
Trini.
Yeah, Trini, such a talented cat, and he's one of my closest friends. He introduced me to the music Project Spotlight, and I was very fortunate to be asked to be a part of it. And it was really cool because, you know, y'all are super talented out here, that it made my job so much easier knowing that kind of quality I'm working with. I'm like, these are great songs, bro. I'm like, these are great artists. It just made my job easier to know that, oh, okay, that's where they're going, like, you know, sonically and visually, not visually, sonically, and just as artist-wise, I had a good feeling where I should take these songs. And, you know, with the help of my co-producers and back in Melbourne, we just put our heads down and try to make, you know, a great record. You know, it's just, we have a great song, but let's make this a great record where we can potentially get these songs out there released and also potentially sync. So what we're doing in some of those albums at the moment, Some of them actually we've signed off one of the albums to a close sync agent of ours in Australia. So they're doing their thing there. And also I'll be in talks with Daryl soon in regards to creating opportunities for the other two albums from different regions. So we want to cover all the regions. So, but just having that catalogue of great, amazing songs and the impact that it's had already in the Australian market in terms of the people we've shown, they've really, hence why they accepted it, they signed it up because they really believed in the sound and in the song and the sonic, because it's nothing what we're doing in Australia. It's really fresh. So having that Caribbean sound along with the contemporary sound just made it like, this is so syncable. So fingers crossed that's all going well. But also I'm always the cat who's always trying to push stuff. Even if it's sort of quiet, don't worry, we're working behind the scenes.
So there is a demand for Caribbean music, right?
At the moment, well, you know what, from what I've seen, the whole model is becoming real commercial. Like a lot of the commercial pop stuff, like Nicki Minaj's and Rihanna's, man, that's all Caribbean music. It's just commercialized, but you know, which means that a lot of the networks are actually looking for that kind of quality and vibes and feel and mood and joy in these songs. So hence why a lot of the labels are looking for those kinds of songs for sync. And a lot of times they can't afford Nicki Minaj, they can't afford Rihanna, they can't afford to pay Rihanna's publishers $300,000 for a sync. So they'll go to us, hey Jay, you gotta, can you do something like this Nicki Minaj track? I'm like, yeah, we can do that, easy, yeah. So we get our team together, and then we put the whole track, put our heads together, and just get in there and just write a whole EP of great songs along the lines of that song sonically. So we pretty much, our sound is a top 40 chart sounding quality sort of vibes. Anything that you can hear on radio is pretty much going to be in our catalogue that's made for sync. But we have introduced a thing called Artist Series. So we'll find an artist who I think would do amazingly well for sync, and we'd create the album artwork for y'all. We'd record the whole albums for y'all, we'd produce it all up, mix it, engineer it, master it, and then we'll go ahead and release it to our partners, therefore making it available to their clientele around the world, people like Netflix and Fox and CBS.
We've had in the past, that is MusicTT, we've spoken to sync labels in Canada. We actually won a chop in Canada, was here many years ago,
right,
talking about this whole sync industry. One of the other things that I'm not so much concerned, I'm intrigued by is, what advice would you give our composers and local producers? Should they create a lot of music? Should they produce a certain genre of music that works in a big way? What is your best advice for these Caribbean musicians and artists here? That's
exactly it, what you said. Like, for me, while I was working on this Project Spotlight, I was also building my catalog. I was like, in the COVID era, it was a perfect time because we're all stuck at home, and what do? We can't perform, we can't do anything. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna just keep writing and get a whole bunch of catalogs and albums done. And then, you know, a year and a half later, I had 10 albums prepared. Like different genres, hip hop, pop, soul, R&B, everything in big empowering ballads. But that really made it happen for me, just building catalogs. So I suggest for you composers, don't settle with just 1, 2, 3 songs or 3 albums. Keep writing. You all got so much talent. You got to utilize that and keep delivering. And even though sometimes you're going to get knocked back, that's cool, man. Like, use those knockbacks as a launching pad to learn from it, because I've gone through the whole same thing. People have knocked me back so many times. I've had more downs than ups. But it's those down times that I felt like, you know what, I'll take it with a grain of salt, move on from it, learn from it, and see what I can do to improve from it. And so that's really worked for me mentally. And being someone who's been through all that, I can tell you that everything and anything is possible.
Couple more questions.
Yeah.
We leave the AI for last. In terms of how do they get to you, aside from contact and that kind of stuff, do you go scouting for songs, or do people forward music to you? How do people get into the sing community?
Basically, we need songs. We need artists. We need writers. We need producers. We need, that's how our production music label works. We need to keep feeding the beast. Otherwise, it's like, oh, we don't have a catalog. I want to release every 2 months, at least. Every month, essentially. But if I can, encourage you guys to keep writing, send some stuff. I'm probably the cruisiest kind of guy. You can DM me, you can email me, you can message me.
Do it.
I'll just apologize in advance if I don't get to you straight away because I got a lot of that. But please feel free to email or DM me because I'm here to network. Not just you guys. You're all doing the same thing, but I'm doing the same thing as you guys. I want to grow our brand. I want to grow our connections. And for the Caribbean artists, man, this is where it's at. I want to learn from you guys. I really want to make a catalog or do an EP, an album that has that influence. All the different influences that you guys have here, the different regions, the African, the Indo. I want all that infused into commercial, syncable song. And we can make that, man. And my guy, Jhay, man, him and I've learned a lot from him. And vice versa. And that's what it's all about, teamwork and collaboration. So y'all got to keep collaborating as well because at the end of the day, if you don't collaborate, you're always just going to stick in your little zone, your happy comfort zone. But if you can learn from others, that's the key. And that's what's happened for me is that I've been involved in a lot of songwriting camps overseas where I've learned from others. And it's really extended my knowledge in terms of how to write songs, structure songs for sync, and do it properly. And just get quality.
Let's talk money now. I mean, I just said that it may cost $300,000 to get a track from Rihanna.
Yeah.
What are we talking about in terms of, let's say one of the Spotlight songs gets on a Netflix show? Who does the negotiation? Netflix says we only want to pay $5,000, or you say no, I want $10,000. How does that work?
Yeah, it really depends. I have opportunities not just for Hit Music Lab and some production music labels, but I also have opportunities to work direct with Netflix as well. Mm-hmm. And those, pretty much that's what everyone's going for, the direct, because you're dealing with them directly, so you're going to get the core of the funds, like whether it's you or your co-producer or your co-writer, you're going to get the bulk of the funds that's coming in. And it really depends. It's project by project, so it really depends on what kind of project they have. But but you also have the option of doing production music where these Warner Chappell have this massive clientele already. Like you didn't have to worry about getting songs to the right people because these guys will do that for you. Mm-hmm. So I offer the opportunity so that, okay, before you want to put it towards library, how about I go to these events here, meet with people, and potentially meet with these suitors like Netflix and Fox and all these NBC, and then just say, hey, I got some cool catalogs here that are unsigned, all pre-cleared, all ready to go. Tell me what you think, and I'll be there to really advocate for us and get it to the right people.
How does that publishing split work? 50-50? You take 50% and the artist retains 50%?
Yeah. With those briefs generally, with the exclusive stuff, with the production music, how that works is how the usual model is.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, gotcha. How the usual model is, the usual standard model for a major label, in my experience, is that the writers get 100% of their writer's share. Okay, the publishers will get the publisher's share 100%. However, the back end, the mechanicals and sync fees are split 50-50 with the artists, and that gets paid twice a year, so biannual. And really, what it is for me personally, it's not the upfront fees. I mean, you might get some cool upfront fees, but what's worked for me, and the reason why I'm doing this deal is because of the back end, of the passive income, knowing that I'm going to sleep tonight, knowing my music's making me money. And that's the beauty about having exclusive libraries, because these cats, they know what they're doing. Their clientele is huge. So next thing you know, I hear my song in Japan and in Korea and Germany and France. And I know for a fact that these songs are continuously being pushed just by looking at my royalty statements every month. And that's getting me by. And that's the beauty about it. I mean, it's not, you can get the upfront fees for the briefs. That's one cool option, but then you can't quickly wave off the exclusive libraries where they actually really continuously push your product like in perpetuity. They won't stop. Like I've written songs 10 years ago that are still getting placed and making me money.
So ideally for composers, get into a library catalog such as Hit Music Lab, and hopefully in the sync world, things can happen. Things will happen.
I think it's a numbers game, like with anything. Like the more you have out there, the better the chances of success.
Final 10-second question.
Yeah.
AI is, of course, the hot topic and thing, and AI is now composing music.
Yeah.
Is that a problem for you in the sync world? Are people saying, I don't need composers, I could just press a button on an app and get a Caribbean
song? For me, it's going to be like that eventually. But for me, I don't think about these things. I think if you really enjoy writing, if you really put your passion into it and not just do it for the hell of it, you put your all into it. That's something a machine cannot replicate. I promise you that. You put your all into it. And I guess that's the reason why a lot of my stuff gets synced, is because that's the mentality I've always had, whether it be a fast song, whether it be a ballad or anything. The reason why these songs keep getting synced is because it's a great song and it connects with people. You know, it fits perfectly with this scene on Bold and Beautiful or in this show on Netflix. It fits perfectly. And that's something, I guess, I can't really answer that thoroughly, but for me, that's my one-stop answer, is that just create what you love and what's inside of you, essentially, and then it'll come.
The robots will not replace us. Jay?
No worries.
That's everything. JC. I'm Nigel. Bye-bye.